So after so many pointless delays, we finally have New Mutants. But was it worth the wait? Let's find out. Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for, as I've said before, the long-delayed New Mutants. So the movie takes place in an asylum and follows 5 mutants who are pretty young and have just discovered their powers. But they're being experimented on, they're being held at this facility against their own will. However, some unusually creepy stuff happens in this asylum, and the 5 mutants, who start off really not liking each other, have to work together to try to escape and basically be free. So I remember seeing the first trailer to this when it dropped, and the idea of a horror superhero movie actually sounded pretty cool, because after Deadpool and Logan kind of brought a fresh new approach to the genre, especially within the X-Men series, I thought, you know what? I'd love to see what they can do with a horror movie in this universe. And then the movie got delayed. Again. And again. It was supposed to come out this April. Like, it was the definitive date that New Mutants was supposed to come out. Nothing in the world could ever stop the release of this long-delayed movie. And then the pandemic happened. And the movie got delayed again until just now. And because California is still aware that there's a pandemic going on and theaters are closed, I ended up seeing this movie at a drive-in event at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, which I've never experienced a drive-in movie before, and it was actually pretty cool. It felt very relaxing. I got to watch a new movie from the comfort of my own car. I had the radio turned on to a specific station to where I could hear the movie, and it was a pretty cool event. It is a shame, however, that New Mutants was not worth my first drive-in experience, nor was it worth being delayed this long, because, man, talk about wasted potential. Let me say this, first of all. A lot of reviews have come out for this movie saying that it's incredibly bad. Like, it's one of the worst movies in the series, one of the worst superhero movies ever made. Personally, I don't agree with that. And it comes down to a couple of factors. One, the fact that this movie kept getting delayed so often didn't give me hope anymore. Like, I was excited with that first trailer, but after a while, I just didn't care for the New Mutants anymore. I'm just like, look, I just want to see the movie. I don't care how bad it is. I just want to see the movie. And two, in terms of the caliber of bad X-Men movies, this is honestly the best one, and I would gladly watch this movie again before I ever have to revisit X-Men Origins Wolverine, Dark Phoenix, X-Men Apocalypse, and X-Men The Last Stand. But then again, that's kind of a backhanded compliment because it's still not that good of a movie with very little redeeming value to it. The biggest problem I had with the movie is that it barely feels like an X-Men movie, and I know part of that has to do with the fact that the timeline for this franchise is just so bug-nuts confusing that it's kind of hard to even track where this takes place in the timeline. But even putting the timeline aside, it just doesn't feel like it stays within the spirit of the X-Men in the comics. There's nothing about it that really screams that it belongs in this universe. It just feels like some generic horror movie that has elements of The Breakfast Club and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. It's not really all that special. And I should probably mention this right now, the horror element doesn't play up to its potential. Like, everything that you saw in that first trailer that you thought gave this movie the potential to be a cool horror-themed superhero movie is not there. I mean, there's one good scene in this movie. I will give the movie this. The scene with the Smile Men is actually kind of intimidating. It's not nail-biting scary, but it definitely has the atmosphere. It has some creepy moments. And if the rest of the movie had played out like that sequence right there, I think it could have been something a lot better. But again, this movie's just kind of meh. The characters aren't really that interesting either. I mean, they're played by really good actors. You have Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones. You have Anya Taylor-Joy, who normally I do like, but in this movie, she's doing a terrible Russian accent. Like, it is comically laughable. It's just as laughably bad as the southern accent that Charlie Heaton does. I mean, when I was watching this movie, I'm going to say this right now. Normally, when seeing a new movie, I don't like to talk, especially if it's in a movie theater, because, you know, you're not supposed to talk in movie theaters. But one of the great advantages of seeing this movie at a drive-in by myself was that you are blocked off from everyone else, so you just have the freedom to talk. And during those accents, I could not help but laugh and make fun of it. But again, I was the only one in the car, so I was pretty much trying to amuse myself more than the movie was. And also, every actor in this movie is playing a stereotype. It's just like in every bad horror movie you can think of, where the characters are not defined by who they are, but more by their stereotype. Anya Taylor-Joy plays more of the bitchy character. Blu Hunt plays Danielle Moonstar, and she's just more of the typical nice girl. I'm hesitant to say final girl because this movie doesn't have a slasher movie structure. But she just plays the nice girl who comes across as pretty innocent compared to everyone else. Henry Zaga plays the good-looking muscular guy. And again, these characters are just a bunch of stereotypes, and they're not that interesting, really. And from the research I've done of the original comic characters compared to what we see on screen, they just do not represent their comic book alternates at all. And I know that this series has had a history of changing elements from the comics for the movies. Sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. But the changes that are welcomed stay in spirit with what the X-Men represent. And again, going back to this movie barely feeling like an X-Men movie, the characters do not embody the spirit of the X-Men at all, and there's really no dynamic. And then the climax of the film is just flat out ridiculous. I will say that it's less preposterous and less stupid than the climax in Dark Phoenix and X-Men Origins Wolverine. But even then, it just kind of wraps up and you feel underwhelmed. And for this being the final movie in Fox's X-Men series, again, out of all the bad X-Men movies, this is the best one, but it's still not what you want to see the series go out on. I'll just wrap things up right here. This movie was not worth being delayed over and over again, so on that note, I'd say don't waste your money at all. It's not god-awful. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be, but it's still not good. Part of that reason might come from the fact that I'm not too familiar with these specific characters as I am with characters like Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Xavier, Magneto, and Dark Phoenix really made me mad, and so did X-Men Origins Wolverine. I still think those two are hands down the worst films in the X-Men series from Fox. And this one, it just never made me mad. At worst, I was just bored. And I just really can't in good conscience recommend this. Especially going out to the theater. I know there are theaters open in the country, but it's really not worth it. At the moment we're at right now, no movie, let alone New Mutants, should be worth risking your life to go see in a theater. If you feel like you have to see this movie, like you absolutely need to see this movie out of curiosity, just wait for it to come out on VOD, or if there's a drive-in theater near your town, go there. It's probably going to be a better experience than seeing it in a theater, and it's probably going to be safer. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you right now, it's going to see this in a drive-in, if you can, will be much safer and smarter than seeing it in a theater. The fact that this even went to theaters to begin with perplexes me, because this is a movie that really should have gone straight to Disney Plus, and I don't think people would have a problem with it. If anything, I think a lot of people, including myself, were just saying, look, this movie's been delayed long enough. Just put it out of its misery and send it straight to Disney Plus, because it's probably not going to be worth seeing it in a theater. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not good either. And there you go, that's my review for New Mutants. Now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until then, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you, there is only one